quite like the way the product's strategy. That's what we need to learn. Maybe later sometime in the next few weeks, I would actually tell you something called as a product life cycle. So every product has got like, whether it is an iPhone, or whether it is a mouse, or whether it's a bucket that you buy in the house, or whether it is a light bulb, everything has got it's a product. So it has got a life cycle. So it's early adapters, and the moment it's launched, it's called, and then there is a late adapters, late strategy, maturity, and all that. It goes down through the cycle. So I will talk to you about that in that context some other time, so you understand it better, the product development aspect. But just wanted to actually bring to you the context of roadmap, right? So just, I'll quickly walk you through. I don't want to spend much time in selling iPhones, or why iPhones are the best and all that. We're not talking about it. So 2007 was the first original iPhone launched. And then later, 2008, 3G was launched. 3GS was launched in 2009. 2010, iPhone 4. Yeah. 2011, 4S. 2012, 5. If you notice, there's not much huge change in this, but then if you notice, every year they kept changing. And there was a joke, there was a rumor that was going on that Steve Jobs actually had ideas about what iPhone 100 would look like at that point of in the first year itself. He knew what that should be looking like, what that should have, what features it should have back in 2007. But his smartness is not to actually pack all of that in the first iPhone. He actually only released, the first one with this basic features, and perhaps it has got a touch feature, and then it didn't even have a front-facing camera, I guess. I'm not mistaken, if I'm not mistaken. And then later it has got a front-facing camera, and then you've got, with iPhone 4, 3 years later, we've got a front-facing camera to take selfies. And then 2011, we've got something, it got advancing features with the technology. 3GS was the 3G technology and all that. And then later 5S, 5C, again, multiple colors. You've got colors added now. And then with 2014, in 2014, they launched 6 and 6 Plus with a sleeker design and much powerful stuff. And then 6S, 6S Plus, you actually got the biometrics in there, so you don't have to give the passcode every time. It's actually fingerprint biometric. And 7 Plus, I don't know, 8 Plus, and iPhone 10 was launched where they actually introduced a Face ID. So you don't even need to use your fingerprint biometric. So technology improved. And then with 10R, 2018 introduced 10R, bigger size, small size, sizes mattered now. So they came up with one small size, then the medium size, and the large size Pro Max. And then 2020, come October, they launched this iPhone 12 Pro. It's pretty much same as this. That's what people say. You'll be massively disappointed if you have got 11 to buy for 12. There's nothing new in that. But inside that, they actually introduced Apple's own processor. It was till then they were using Intel's and AMD's, and then from the iPhone 12 Pro onwards this year, they're using Apple's own processor. So it's a major step for them, but for the customers, not much difference. Well, why am I talking about all these things to you? That's a roadmap, right? If you see the way the product has actually shaped from 2007, in the last 13 years now, they still have got the single product. Just talking about the same single product called iPhone. And that was the market leader at that point of time. And it still pretty much is with respect to some of the small ones. I'm not talking about the competition and all these, price things, features versus experience. That aside, it still is in a leading position after 13 years. And you know what? How they did that? As I mentioned, a roadmap. They have clear vision of how they would like to actually, launch the next version. They did that without even stopping at least 1 year. Every year they kept launching the better, apparently perceived better phones, but it's not to some customers. That's a different thing. Let's not argue about it. Again, the reason I'm talking about this is because of the fact that how they would structure this whole thing. Have you noticed one thing? I've not mentioned here the month here. Every year, Apple would launch from 2010, 2009. Every year, September and October, they would launch the new phones. And every April, May, they would launch the the updates, small little updates if they want to. So the newer phones, the newer versions of the phones and builds always launch in September. You know what is this called? TikTok. The Tick was the minor release, and the Talk was the big major product, new version of the product. So that leads us into the next one, which is basically called as release strategy. So in your product, whatever you're working on, your product, application, service, you should have some kind of a proper release strategy in place as to how often you would like to release your product to the market, to the customers, to the users. And so there are two aspects to it. One is a minor release, the other one is a major release. So minor release could be the updates, small little updates, changes, edits to the current features. They're really, really small, not huge functionality, just small little changes here and there, tweaks. And then they're fixes to the defects or the improvements to existing ones. So basically those are that kind of things that you would do in a minor release. And they could be done more frequently. You don't have to wait 6 months, 1 year to do that minor release. You could do it pretty quickly, like in a week's time, in 2 weeks' time. So if you notice, for example, Google or Apple or Microsoft, they keep sending the updates to you, OTA, the online on the air updates, auto updates to your apps or to your products, almost 2-3 weeks of their launch. And those are minor. And why are they minor? Because they are quick fixes, defects, any security bugs related stuff, you know, which they would like to do. They would do that in the first 2-3 weeks of the release of the product. And for these ones, they don't really make a big you know, launching and all that. They don't really do that. They really do something really quietly. They don't want to really know the public. They didn't really want the public to know about what this release is all about. Maybe if you really are interested, you can click on the release note as what it is called. Then you can actually get to see the new things, the changes to the stuff, and then the known issues and known defects. That's the release note. You can get to see that. And the release versioning of the build typically is like x.y.z.a, something like 11.3.1.8 or whatever. So that's the kind of thing that you would get to see. It's all automatically done, you know, overnight or something, you know, quickly. But if you really want to compare this with Apple, what we're just discussing, their release strategy with iPhone is like tick with a minor. So every year spring between April and May, you've got some news from Apple saying that, hey, we're doing this, we're doing that. But it's going to be not such a huge big bang, but maybe a small little thing like we are bringing in the iPhone SR or SE, the standard edition. So, okay, the people will not be really much excited or exuberant about that product. Compare that to, for example, major release. It's a completely new product line, for example. So you're launching iPad or iPad with pencil, the stylus, or it could be something like a watch, or Apple Watch, or Samsung Gear. There's a completely new product line from what we have seen so far at that point of time. So that's a major release. It's a new features, a completely new functionality which was not there, and very significant large size changes or updates to current features. So for example, from fingerprint biometric to, for example, Face ID, huge change technologically and from the customer experience and user experience point of view, huge shift. They're talking about technical stuff like they're using the AI to actually collect through multiple rays on your face and then multiple ways of getting the the contours of the face and then being able to different angles. Every time you lift the phone, it is happening that way to capture your Face ID, and it's unlocking or locking the phone. So that's a huge shift, right? So that's a major release. They're talking about, yeah, we're using Face ID, which was not there before. So it's something huge and fun and a ground shattering. So significant updates to non-functional aspects. So user experience, as I mentioned, for the people, they were using the fingerprint before. So that's one thing that they've been using, but then now they don't even have to put the finger on the phone. They just have to lift it and then it automatically unlocks. So there's a huge change with the user experience point of view as well. Design and performance aspect, all these things, you know, non-functional we discussed. Performance, usability, reliability, security, all of these angles. And then because of the fact that it is huge, these releases would be done less frequently, you know, introduced into the market every year or every few months. It's not every week or every 2 months like the minor releases. It takes a huge effort, time and money to work on this. Communications is massive scale, right? Hey, we are introducing iPhone 12 Face ID. Yeah, we're bringing this fantastic new technology. So much is, wow, so much buzz in the market. So you're actually talking about huge campaigning, huge promotions, letting people know about this huge, fantastic new product, new version, new build, and new technology and new features. So the release version of this builds, the major release would typically be like integers, rounded integers, like 12, 12.0. They'll say, oh, we are introducing iOS 14. So with in September, October. So that's a huge thing compared to, like, for example, every 2 months, iOS gets updated. You actually get to see that in the phone background, 12.2.3, 12.3.4, 13.1.6. Don't care. But then with the major release, it's 14. Yeah, let's download that. Let's see what is new in this. So again, anchoring back to Apple's strategy of iPhones, talk is basically that. Every fall, if you notice from 2010 or even before, for the last 10 years, Apple has been following this strategy for the iPhones. Tick was the minor release every spring, and every fall and autumn, they've got the September, October time they actually release, oh, this is the new iPhone, the next iPhone, better iPhone than the previous one. Let's not talk about whether it's really better or not, but that's their release strategy. So yeah, it has been very effective, and Apple had been the first $1 trillion company